Hi, everyone. My name is Keenan Hardert. I'm a biology professor at Minnesota State University, and I typically work with cancer research and bioeducation research data, some of which we're going to work with today when we learn k-means clustering in Prism, a new feature that I'm very excited to use. I wasn't able to use this before. It's a new tool, so this is really exciting. And the main stuff that we're going to cover today, we're going to learn how to partition the data that we have into specific clusters backed up by stats for how many clusters they actually go into. And that's the difference with hierarchical clustering, which is a previous video you might have watched. How we're going to group these similar observations and identify some basic patterns using k-means, one of my favorite. So grouping this data into clusters and uncovering the hidden patterns within is an excellent hypothesis generating step when you have a bunch of rows and columns with three-dimensional data inside. So not only are we going to make some good heat maps today, but we're going to load everything in. We're going to see how we can take this beyond hierarchical clustering, and we're going to see how kind of using the stats that we get from like silhouette plots, things like that, how to keep all the data the same scale, generate these plots, and review how the clusters inform on our data. The raw data that we have often will match up a lot with the categories that we're investigating. That, and we're going to finish off with some excellent graphing setups after we produce this data. So let's segue right in. Multiple variables plot, enter and import some data. Excellent. Let's go here. We got our variables right here. On the menu today, I've got some raw data from the teaching projects that I have where I track. We have random IDs right here. This is actually going to be a label. We have, do they attend high or low, 90%, and do they have high or low work commitments of 20 plus hours? Right now, you'll notice the setup is arranged from highest performing to lowest performing in class. This is the total amount of class percent points. I want to see how this is going to match up and cluster with, for example, their lab, their first quiz, and their 3 exams, with exam 3 being the final. Okay, so taking a look here, let's do one of the easier setups that we already performed, which is hierarchical clustering. We're going to cluster everybody here. And again, we're going to cluster both rows. Everything's good. We're going to actually just take the raw data because in this case, the percents are the same thing. We want the heat map because that's actually what is going to segue for us right here. So we have excellent distance for each row. We have distance between each column. That looks good. We did the dendrogram in a previous video, for example. This looks great. And I really like what I've got here. Now, by using the eye test, I can somewhat tell that in terms of all the students, there's a big group right here and another solid group right here. See this giant dendrogram right here? Kind of shows there's 2 families. I would say the same thing. This data clustered pretty nicely into 2 things where exam 2 and 3 sort of were their own beast compared to the overall class, the lab, and quiz 1. Quiz 1 looks like it did correlate a lot more with lab and class than these first 2 exams did, and joined by exam 1. Now, I can't make that without, I don't actually, I can only eyeball test this essentially. That's the problem. It's a beautiful heat map and these dendrograms are awesome, but they don't actually give me any certainty on how many families are in each. So if I want to look at the silhouette plot for the rows for the students, what the silhouette plot is kind of telling us is right here, and I kind of got to zoom in, with 2 clusters, the silhouette plot is saying you're kind of encapsulating everything the best with 2 clusters. It's doing that work for you. Let's look at columns here. Same thing. It really likes when there's 2. And that kind of makes sense like we saw. This formed pretty good 2 right here. And I'd say this formed a really solid 2 groups right here. But like I said, we need to actually run this through. That's where k-means is going to come in. So I'm going to grab everybody again. Now we're going to do k-means. There's going to be a couple differences here. We want to include everybody because it will only do the continuous variables for us. I want to keep my raw data in this case because they're all percentages, so we're all on the same scale. If you do have like mRNA or something that is like kind of wild between each set or column, if you standardize it, everybody will fit nicely. In our case, we don't need to because they are all on the same scale technically. All right, outputs. Let's get some cluster details, distance. Centroids is a bit advanced. It kind of deals with the clustering, but you're welcome to use it. I'm going to click that off now. For me, elbow plot and silhouette are going to be the main defaults that are going to help us. Elbow plot, kind of the idea is like the best number of clusters is going to be where it kind of kinks right there. But silhouette is our best one because it's going to say at this point, the number of clusters is the strongest essentially. So let's take a look here. First off, Excellent results already. Here's what we got. Number of clusters. It's going to run, it's going to say like, hey, how many clusters can we actually define? You'll notice it'll give you a lot of these. It'll also say right here, hey, sometimes the cluster only had one data point in it. That's going to happen when like, look at this, I made it into 20 clusters. If it gets that specific, there's going to be a few that only have like one or two rows in it. So that's just a little warning right there. But as we keep going down here, let's take a look. There's our silhouette score that we talked about right there, 0.35, and then it kind of descends from there. So what we're seeing already is that in the columns, we're pretty good on saying it's probably two things, right? Okay, looking at the cluster data itself, we're going to start to see this sheet's going to be important in a sec. So there's if everybody's in one cluster. See how every row is just cluster one. That's one cluster. And that's not really helpful because that's not what we want. Look over here though. There's our two clusters set up right here. The data in the rows right now are still arranged how we left them. So we can actually take this row over and like apply it to our old data in the spreadsheet, for example, and compare. What I'm going to compare is who attended and who had those work commitments. Remember my two categorical variables? They'll come in later. But you'll notice now it's going to show me who's in cluster one. There's a cluster two person. Now we're starting to see some cluster two people. And then mostly at the bottom is cluster two. Remember that this data was arranged from top class to bottom class. I think we're starting to see that in the clusters right here, okay? Now I'm gonna take an aside over to three clusters in a bit because we'll see something pretty neat right there. But it's mainly for graphing. All right, so given everything, let's take a look at our silhouette plot. Like we saw before, it tried a lot of different clusters. One cluster was terrible. It was clearly like it needed to have different stuff. Three clusters wasn't bad, but two is the like healthiest setup in this case. A lot of my cancer research, it's going to be plug in patients and their genes and like who shows up. A lot of times in what I research in lymphoma, it's going to be five clusters in a lot of cases. But the data, however you show up, it's going to be hypothesis generating in this case. So right now I would start to say like, all right, I am backed up by k-means that says my data is kind of existing in two main primary groups. All right, same thing like we talked about with that elbow plot where it's like the first one is never going to be, it's going to be the top. Where's the one that has the biggest like stretch? And that's this one right here with two. All right, so looking on here, we have basically gone through and with the silhouette plot, we've said like, hey, we are backed up with stats and numbers that two clusters is best. Now right here, it's already set me up with an axis that really shows me, all right, it kind of shows me the priority of what happened with the clusters. As you can tell, class points essentially were dictated by the inputs that I put in, and that makes enough sense. Now, if I wanted to right here, let's go ahead and click. I could say all kinds of different stuff. I can still say, I want to move this so I can just do apply. I want to know right now, how did my working students do? So if I want to know the high students right here, I can kind of see them intermixed in there. I want to know the students that didn't attend, for example. I know low attenders being red. Oh, look at those low attenders back there. Dang it. And even if I up that transparency, I can kind of see them just all on that side, right? Now, I would take this data and match that back up with those categories, but look at how well you can get this rolling right here. And that's okay. Sorry, I got a bit of an alarm helping out. Okay, so we're gonna set this up like this. Like multivariable with Prism allows you, I can actually set this up however I want in this case. Now, let's say that I wanted to say, let's call quiz one an independent variable and like how they do on quiz one, did that predict overall class? But over here in the colors, I want to see, okay, do the clusters apply in that case? You see that right there? And that's like the power of this setup is like, this is going to really help out in terms of the distance that you have between cluster one and two. Just look at this. It's clearly saying, hey, everybody in cluster two was sort of lower no matter what. Everybody in cluster one like did pretty well. Now, pretty sure I can't get too creative where I like can't do something like this. Yeah, see, it's a categorical variable right there. Yeah, it's not gonna like that. So, because I'm still in kind of an XY setup. But if I wanted to, I want to try one last thing before we head off. I want to just check in on three clusters. I just want to look at it. Like I said, the statistical best one happened, oops, sorry. The statistical best one happened to be, let's do class, happened to be two clusters, but watch this. Watch what happens. Cluster 3 shows up. And look, cluster 3 are my like elites, my high performers. Now, if I wanted to say, yeah, so there's cluster 1, I want cluster 3 to actually then be like this, kind of something like that, right? So, looking good. Oh man, see what I'm going for right here? Look at that. That is That's exactly what you want to see. That really clean stuff right there. Let's actually just do, I know I might be running out of time. Let's do one other one because I'm kind of excited about this. Let's look at exam one instead. Yeah, kind of intermixes a little bit here. I'm just going to kind of stretch this out by giving us a better max right here. Sorry, I'm getting a little excited right now. Let's do enter. There you go. I know I'm not doing my good tick marks and everything. Max, let's do 100. They're all backed up there. See what I can do here. Oh, we don't like that. Anyway, the beauty of this is like now you can apply your known clusters to colors to see data separating on the variables that you're after in this case. I love it. Okay. But guess what? Here, and I actually really need to go back to my bigger graph that I started with here. Come on, give me back, give me back. There you go. I need this bigger graph for one last kind of cool thing. I want to show you. It's going to intro one of the other videos coming up. So I'm going to give this 120% so that we have some room still, but yeah. Oof. And I promise I want to do my tick marks, but I don't have time. So kind of going to segue into what we can do next. Check this out. Data variables, confidence ellipses. You guys y'all know 95% confidence intervals, right? Give me some confidence intervals like that. Oh, it mixed my colors up. But other than that, this is where we're headed, okay? This is where you can get something like this applied on top of stats and it's going to start looking just beautiful, okay? I am super excited for this. Let's do here one last one, I promise. Convex hull, sort of the same idea, a little more rigid in this case. I want to do my attendance now. There you go. And that's how you pair those data. See that? High versus low attenders. Here, let's go my high attenders. Let's give them a yellow hull. And for the low attenders, I'm going to give them let's give them a that. Let's get some big transparency in that though. There we go. Oof, there it is. See those? So now I've got my clusters in there. I'm going to clean up this format a bit, but look at those high attenders right there. The confidence of a categorical variable showing up in a graph. Awesome. All right. Thanks so much for joining, and I hope K-means has unlocked a few doors for you at this point, and I know it has for me.